Hello students, in this particular session we are going to discuss about a very important part of two-dimensional geometry, that is conic section. So how conic sections idea has occurred to us, if I try to get to that, firstly we have considered that two right circular cones been placed such that their vertices coincide and their axes are also coinciding. You can identify the arrowed line. This particular line shows their respective axis which has already coincided. Now, in this three-dimensional figure, if I try to have cross sections of the conics in different forms, then the surfaces that will be getting open to us are going to be called conic section through their boundary curve. Like we can have sections in this form parallel to base. This particular section for a right circular cone is going to give us a circular surface open to us, and hence the boundary is circle. We can think of a section which is not parallel to base but not even getting open to the circular section, and this inclined section which is generating a closed diagram over here, the boundary is called ellipse. Similarly, we can think of a section which is not parallel to base and getting open in the base, but the section angle is such that we are getting section only from one part, that is opening up a boundary which shape is called parabola. So, if I mark so far what we have gone through, this is circle, this one ellipse, and this one parabola. Similarly, we can have section in such a form, say we are looking for such a section which is also not parallel to base, but the angle of section is such that we are getting open to such curves which is being generated from both the cones. Like on a similar angle we can have a section from here generating such a part over here. So, in these two branches what we are going to describe is a hyperbola. While describing the same thing mathematically, we have described it as locus of a variable point which moves in two-dimensional plane such that throughout the movement it maintains a constant ratio of distance from a coplanar fixed point and a fixed line on the same plane. Okay, so on that basis, if we try to get it mathematically described through the diagram, we can think of this is the fixed line, say it's been marked as ZM, and the fixed point of reference is S. So, our point varies such that, so P is that variable point moving in this plane. So, its perpendicular distance from this line and its perpendicular distance from the fixed point S are respectively marked as PM and PS. So, as per this description, to generate a conic, what we want is SP by Pm is some constant. This constant is called eccentricity and usually denoted by small e, though this has nothing to do with the base of natural logarithm. It is just the initial letter e which is denoting the eccentricity. So, distance from the fixed coplanar point divided by distance from the fixed line of that plane, that constant ratio is called eccentricity. The fixed point of reference, this is known as focus and this line is known as directrix. So, to generate a conic, a variable point moving in a two-dimensional plane such that its distance from focus divided by its distance from directrix maintaining a constant ratio which is called eccentricity. Now, different values of eccentricity can give us different type of locus as the conic section. Like if we get to the different variations, eccentricity 0, that gives us a circle. Now, how we can have this circle? For that we can consider if Sp by Pm is 0, that can happen in two ways. First, if we consider Sp itself 0 and Pm is any non-zero finite value. So, Sp 0 means the whole movement of P will coincide in the point S and in that case it will describe us a point circle. And in that particular occasion, Zm can be considered as any line not passing through S generating Pm non-zero finite value. So, that is a possibility of generating point circle. Apart from that, we can also consider Sp is a fixed finite value and Pm approaching to infinite. Even in that occasion, we will get the limiting value of eccentricity to be 0 and that can describe as Sp fixed finite value. So, P is moving such that its distance from S is always fixed. So, it will generate us a circle. And when we draw this feasible circle, we cannot have the axis of directrix because we want Pm beyond finite region value, and to ensure Pm is infinite, we must not have axis of the directrix within any finite region we reach. Next part, if we consider, that is value of eccentricity in the open interval 0 to 1, that gives us ellipse. That means Sp by Pm is something positive but less than 1. It is always supposed to be non-negative as we are addressing ratio of two distances. Now, this ratio of distances less than 1, so we can expect movement of P to be closer to S in comparison to its distance from directrix, which is generating us a closed diagram of ellipse. When eccentricity is exactly 1, we will get parabola. That is going to be an open curve because it is maintaining equal distances from both the part and hence will generate open curve. How it will be generated, that we will describe in the forthcoming part. And finally, eccentricity more than 1 will generate us hyperbola. So, on the basis of different types of ratio, we can identify the eccentricity is segregated in 4 different variations. Ratio of the distances 0 in 2 occasions where the numerator was 0, Sp by Pm. So, when movement of P is coinciding in S or otherwise Sp is a fixed finite value and Pm approaching to infinite generating eccentricity 0. Eccentricity in the open interval 0 to 1 when movement of P is closer to S than directrix and maintaining the constant ratio throughout. So, numerator lesser than denominator, that generates the ellipse keeping the ratio value constant. eccentricity exactly 1 when both these distances or numerator and denominator are equal, going to give us parabola, and when distance from focus is always more than distance from directrix, that is going to generate hyperbola. Okay. So, on the basis of this ratio, now if I try to get to the algebraic representation of this conic section. So, in this particular variation, we are considering this S to be appearing with some coordinates, say S is alpha comma beta, and the line Zm that we have considered directrix, we can assume this with a general equation, say Px plus Qy plus some r is equals to 0, and the constant ratio of distances generated by the moving point P, say this Sp by Pm is eccentricity value E. Now, we are addressing ratio of these two distances, so we will go accordingly. Like if you can all recall the distance between 2 points, that is generating Sp. So, we can write Sp, which is E times Pm, as square root of x minus alpha whole square plus y minus beta whole square. Here I am addressing the point P as x comma y. On the other side, the eccentricity times the distance of the point P from this considered line is going to be modulus of Px plus Qy plus r divided by root over P square plus Q square. So, as you can identify in this representation, we do have square root, we do have modulus, and definitely none of them is much good for our algebraic proceeding. So, we will try to get rid of this, and the only way to do that is squaring of both sides. So, if we square both sides, we are going to have x minus alpha whole square plus y minus beta whole square is equals to E square times Px plus Qy plus r whole square divided by P square plus Q square. Now, in this particular representation, we need to take care of certain things while pursuing this comparison. Like you can identify this is a long relation which is definitely reducible to degree 2 formation in 2 variable, but where we need to keep our concentration in this distance formula that has been appearing in the left hand side, coefficient of x must have to be kept 1, coefficient of y also has to be kept 1 in the base of the squares. On the right hand side, when your linear expression is Px plus Qy plus r is equals to 0, due to perpendicular distance format, its denominator must be P square plus Q square. And after maintaining all these appearances, what we get as the balancing constant between this two side expression, that must be addressed as E square. I am giving you an example to have this thing adapted more easily. Say we have been given with an expression in the form of 5x minus 1 whole square plus 5y minus 2 whole square is equals to 3x plus 4y minus 7 whole square divided by say 3 square plus 4 square. So, if we try to compare this with the standard appearance, on the right hand side 3 and 4 are respectively coefficients of x and y, and accordingly 3 square plus 4 square is present over here. But in the left hand side, the distance form is not in its standard variation. We do have 5x and 5y instead of x and y, and we need to decide on the eccentricity also. So, if we proceed through dividing the whole equation with 5 square, that will change my appearance into x minus 1 by 5 whole square plus y minus 2 by 5 whole square is equals to 1 by 5 square into 3x plus 4y minus 7 whole square by 3 square plus 4 square. So now, keeping standardized appearance for all the section, what we have got for the eccentricity square section, that is 1 by 5 square. So we can ensure eccentricity is 1 by 5 and this equation was standing for an ellipse. Whereas if we miss this observation at the beginning, there was nothing written for e square. So there is a high chance that you may misguide it to the conclusion of parabola considering that 1 square, which is not to be done. So with this example, we have understood how to compare this eccentricity. Let us have another example on that basis. So we have been given with another equation which is 2x plus 1 whole square added with 2y minus 1 whole square is equals to 5x plus 12y minus 17 whole square divided by 25. Now, if we compare over here the coefficient of x and coefficient of y, these are not in standard form, as well as if we think the appearance of the coefficients which are 5 and 12 in the linear expression, whereas the denominator only have a 5 square value, not even the 12 square. So cumulatively our requirement in the denominator was 5 square plus 12 square, that is 169, and instead we have got just 25. So now when will we standardize? We will firstly divide the whole equation with 2 square. So that gives us x minus half whole square plus y minus half whole square is equals to this 25 along with the division of 2 square makes the denominator 10 square, whereas for 5x plus 12y minus 17 whole square, our requirement in the denominator is 5 square plus 12 square, and it was not there. So to balance it, we need to multiply a 13 square here. So now when everything is appearing in the standard form, that is x minus half whole square plus y minus half whole square is equals to 13 by 10 whole square into 5x plus 12y minus 17 mod of that root of divided by root over 5 square plus 12 square, which is perpendicular distance from that whole square. We can identify this equation representing a hyperbola. That's been confirmed from this section, as the eccentricity is appearing 13 by 10. The focus of this particular conic can be identified as minus half comma half, and the directrix Zm can be identified as 5x plus 12y minus 17 equals to 0. So from the Sp is equals to E times Pm, or Sp square is equals to E square times Pm square, from this representation we can identify by standardizing the marked positions, that is coefficient of x and coefficient of y in the base of the squares found from the distance formula, as well as maintaining the coefficient of x and y from the linear expression corresponded by sum of their squares in the denominator to maintain the perpendicular distance form. Ahead of this, if we try to consider the general representation for the conic found in focus directrix form, that is square of Sp is equals to square of the distance from directrix multiplied with E square. We have already found that as x minus এটা একটু পজ বোঝা যাচ্ছে না যাচ্ছে the standard equation that we have found as x minus alpha whole square plus y minus beta whole square is equals to e square times modulus of px plus qy plus r whole square divided by root over p square plus q square whole square. Now, if we cross multiply this to generate a two variable quadratic from this standard representation, we will get to a two variable quadratic standard representation of which can be marked as ax square plus 2hxy plus by square plus 2gx plus 2fy plus c is equals to 0. Now, you might have a concern like from this coefficient how these things have come all of a sudden. So, it is not the exact coefficient that we are supposed to get. Over here we have kept in mind that from the earlier representation, if we perform cross multiplication, if we keep all the terms to same side, so what variation of terms we are going to get? So, we are going to get a x square term most likely to be written with that. If it is not there, we will consider the coefficient a to be 0. So, in general appearance, we have options open to have a x square term, xy term, y square term, only x term, only y term and constant term. You can consider of we have given coefficients in the standardized form named as a for coefficient of x square, coefficient of xy 2h, coefficient of y square b, coefficient of x 2g, coefficient of y 2f and constant term been marked as c. Now, the first query that should come into our mind that why 2h, 2g and 2f? We have kept them 2h, 2g and 2f so that in the further derivation we can get things in terms of h, g and f, and if we would have started with exactly h, g and f, further derivation should have been found in terms of h by 2, g by 2 and f by 2. So, to avoid those complications, we have initially marked them in the standard form respectively as 2h coefficient of xy, 2g coefficient of x and 2f coefficient of y. So, this equation which can also represent as a conic, the necessary condition for that is going to be the delta of this two variable quadratic is non-zero. You have been introduced to this two variable quadratic equation also when we have gone through pair of straight line, and we already know that delta is nothing but ABC plus 2FGH minus AF square minus BG square minus CH square. So, this expression which stands for delta, you can also consider this as discriminant of this two variable quadratic. It actually been derived from a determinant that we have already discussed in the pair of straight line section. So, this delta value has to be non-zero, that is the necessary condition. Now, along with delta not being 0, if we have h is equals to 0 and a is equals to b, that may represent a circle. We have also discussed that with circle. Now, why we are writing may represent a circle? Like even after all this condition, we might lead to such a representation which is algebraically appearing, but feasibly not suitable for any of the coordinate from the plane. So, all this condition will always have a lead open towards representing nothing, that is standing for null set. Otherwise, if it is something feasible and able of representing something in the two dimensional plane, in that case delta not equals to 0, h equals to 0 and a equals to b will lead us to circle. That is, in the standard representation of circle, what we have found that x square and y square does appear with same coefficient, and no xy term in the representation, and that itself sufficient to ensure that delta not equals to 0. Moreover, if I get h square is equals to AB from this representation, that will lead us to possibly representing a parabola. If we get h square less than AB, that may represent an ellipse. And finally, if h square greater than AB, that will keep its thread open towards representing a hyperbola. Whereas, as I said, every time there will always be a possibility where this representation might lead to nothing, as these are algebraic appearances. So, based over their particular appearing form, even after maintaining all this, that may be feasibly not representing any coordinate from the two dimensional plane and hence representing nothing. So, these are all possibilities open, we cannot confirm on the basis of this checking. If we are well sure of the fact that geometrical representation exists corresponding to the algebraic representation, then only this checking can be confirming one, not otherwise. Now, while describing conic, we need some other references also, which are automatically comes with the diagram. Like so far we have gone through certain points like focus, standard demarcation is S, directrix usually denoted as ZM, the variable point describing conic, this point P is considered to generate the conic, and we have also marked eccentricity as E. Ahead of that, the first thing that we will consider is axis. Now, what is axis? It is perpendicular line of directrix through focus. So, as per the description, we can also identify this line axis to be a line of symmetry for the curve. So, you can also mention that in bracket. This is definitely a line of symmetry of the conic. As such, for any conic, its axis is unique. So, every conic has a unique line as its axis. So, this axis what we have described as the line of symmetry, and this is an unique line to be considered. The next description comes ahead of axis is vertex of a conic. As we described, axis of a conic is unique, but we cannot say the same for vertex. There might be a single vertex, there might be more than one vertices too. Now, what is vertex? It is the point or maybe points. So, I am keeping a bracket S. So, the point or points of intersection of a conic with its axis is called vertex, or maybe for more than one appearance its vertices. Okay. So, if we try to have a rough appearance of these things, in that case, if I consider this line is the directrix and this fixed point is focus S. So, this is Z M and our variable point P is this one, which is generating a curve like this. So, in that case, appearance of axis will be marked as SZ, perpendicular to directrix through the point focus, and where it is meeting the curve, this point will be marked as vertex. We can mark this as V. The next section ahead of axis and vertex will consider chord of a conic. Now, chord is remaining the same for all type of curves. Any line which is joining to distinct points of a curve is going to be considered as chord. Now, conics have certain specific kind of chords, so we are going to focus on that. So, what type of chords are special to us? Like we can think of double ordinate. Now, what type of chord is double ordinate? These are chords perpendicular to axis of conic. So, in any conic, what chords will appear perpendicular to axis, they will be marked as double ordinate. Next, focal chord. So, by the name itself you might have got an idea. These are chords passing through focus. And the special one, that's latus rectum. That is chords which are perpendicular to axis as well as passing through focus. So, if any chord satisfy the condition of double ordinate and focal chord simultaneously, then that type of chords will be marked as double ordinate. So, after latus rectum, we will consider a parameter that is called focal distance of a point. Now, what is focal distance or focal radius? We will have a discussion. In any conic, if I consider focal distance or focal radius, this is distance of a point on the conic from the focus, that will be marked as focal distance or focal radius. So, in general, if I consider a point on the conic as P, so its distance from focus is going to be PS or SP. So, this distance is going to be called focal distance of the point or focal radius. If your conic has more than one possibility for focus, so even a single point can have more than one possibility for focal radius or focal distance. But by the description of conic, we already know SP is E times PM, that is eccentricity times the distance from directrix. So, whenever directrix is one of the coordinate axis or a parallel line, over there instead of going through a distance formula between the point P and the focus S, we can also rely on having distance from directrix and multiplying it with the eccentricity value E. And last but not the least, center of conic. Now, this description starts with if. So, that means what we are going to justify that may or may not exist corresponding to every conic. So, if there exists such a point through which any chord passing also getting bisected at that very point, then the point is called center of the conic. So, the description itself says it is not mandatory that every conic will have its center, but mostly the conics of the form ellipse or circle that you have already experienced, or even hyperbola, they will have their center defined. The only type of conic which will not possess any center, that is parabola, because the shape of the parabola is such that it is not symmetric about any point. Okay. The other three variations, they have been found symmetric about a point, and that point of symmetry will be marked as center of the conic. So, now we will be entering the specific conics, and firstly we will read them in this standard form. Now, what is standard form of a conic? If we consider standard forms, that means identifying the physical properties of a conic from a zone which is more comfortable to us. Now, which zone is more comfortable to us? Like if I consider origin and the around area, that is the most comfortable part, where we can identify physical measurement more easily, because we can have distances from axis or distances from origin, the references. So, reference of the plane, if we keep as our reference, we can definitely have the description on much more easier note. So, accordingly we will describe conics with coordinate axis as their axis and origin as a specific point of reference connected with the conic, and such appearances will be considered as standard conic. Like the first discussion will be extended towards standard parabola. So, when we are considering standard parabola, what are the things we are standardizing or keeping along axis or at origin? So, we are keeping the axis along coordinate axis and vertex at origin. So, if we standardize these two specific appearances, still we can have 4 variation regarding the choice or placement of focus. So, if we think of the diagram, say this is y and x axis respectively, this is x, this is y axis meeting at origin. So, we do have our own choices for selecting the focus, like we can keep it on positive x axis, we can keep it on negative x axis, we can keep it on positive y axis, or even we can keep it on negative y axis. The first variation that we are considering, that let the focus is on positive x axis appearing as a point a comma 0. Now, with respect to this assumption, definitely the vertex origin must act as the midpoint of S and the point Z on directrix. So, Z must be considered as minus a comma 0. Directrix is a line perpendicular to axis. So, we will have our directrix as x plus a is equals to 0. And for any point P on the considered parabola, the restriction that we have is the distance from S and the distance from directrix both has to be same. So, we are going for SP equals to eccentricity for parabola is 1. So, it is 1 into PM, or we can square even both sides. So, SP square is appearing as x minus a whole square plus y square, that is on the other side distance PM is x plus a whole square, or y square is equals to x plus a whole square minus x minus a whole square, generating the equation y square equals to 4ax. So, that is the first standard parabola we can consider. Let us name it as P1. So, y square equals to 4x, that is the equation we have found for the standard parabola whose focus been considered on positive x axis. So, what will happen if we consider on positive y axis or negative x axis or negative y axis? We will consider them afterward. Let us firstly concentrate on what we have got, how it should look like. So, to identify how it should look like, we are going for tracing of this curve. So, I am writing the equation of the parabola. If we consider the equation of the parabola y square equals to 4ax, which has been marked as P1, the first observation, on this equation, if I replace y with minus of y, then no change happens as there is square for y, and that confirms the equation is symmetric about the line y is equals to 0, that is x axis. So, the first conclusion we have got is symmetric about y is equals to 0, that is x axis, and we have confirmed that by identifying in the equation replacement of y by minus of y does not bring any change. Second point, we will consider the left hand side of the equation contains an even power, that is y square, whereas on the other side we have 4ax. Now, 4 already and visibly a positive constant. As per our assumption, a is also something positive. So, to hold the equality with the left hand side, which is always non-negative, we must have our x greater than or equals to 0. That confirms appearance of the curve restricted to on or at the right of y axis. As the condition we have got, x is non-negative, that is x equals to 0 gives us y axis, and x greater than 0 on the right side of y axis. Moreover, if we proceed ahead for more identification, as x increases in positive, that is if we move towards the right direction of horizontal axis, y square increases, that means mod y increases. So, as x increases in positive direction, mod y also increases. That confirms the curve is going to be an open curve, and as we are going away from origin towards the right, the ordinates that will also increases on either direction of x-axis, and hence we can roughly expect a curve like this. Due to the symmetry about x-axis, we can consider similar appearance below x-axis. So that gives us a rough idea about the shape of the parabola. Now, if we try to consider the references that we can have from y square equals to 4x, like what are the other things than standardized axis and vertex? Already we have marked its axis was x-axis, more particularly positive x-axis. Vertex we have standardizes at origin. Focus we have considered S as some a comma 0 where a is a positive real number. The directrix is x plus a is equals to 0. Any double ordinate will be x is equals to c square, c not equals to 0, or even we can mark it as some x is equals to k, where k is some positive real number, because for being a chord we need this line on the right side of y axis. For focal chord, we will have any line passing through the focus. So, its y is equals to m into x minus a, where m is a parameter, a is the constant we have already used as the abscissa of focus. So, any line passing through the point a comma 0 can be marked as y is equals to m into x minus a until and unless it is the vertical line x is equals to a, which is the very special chord connected with y square equals to 4x, is latus rectum. If we try to consider the extremities of a double ordinate x equals to k, we can have it by its intersection with y square equals to 4x. So, that will give us y square is equals to 4ak, and hence y itself plus or minus 2 root over ak. So, if we try to consider any such double ordinate, say it is x equals to k, the extremities we have got k comma minus 2 root over ak, and this one k comma 2 root over ak, and hence length of the double ordinate is 4 root over ak. So, you can identify it is one such chord which is in the standard appearance having a length which is double of the ordinate value of its extremes, and hence you can identify the reason behind the naming double ordinate. Similarly, the latus rectum x equals to a, that is also a double ordinate, will have its extremity marked as a comma 2a and a comma minus 2a by this reference, and marked with length of latus rectum is 4a. So, these are the references connected with the standard parabola P1.